Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. Back to the Frame Rate, where we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms for your entertainment. I'm Nathan Shore, and I'm here with Ellie Escobar, Brianna Butterworth, and returning from a little hiatus, Sam. Sam Cole, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back. Thank you.
You're talking like you're a guest.
I'm doing really well. It's a pleasure to co-host again.
Okay, that's better. Well, here we are again, and I'm excited for this episode because we're talking about Alexander Payne's The Holdovers. Maximum Pain. It was actually said in the movie. I thought that was a fun little moment in the movie. I wonder if that was intentionally added by Alexander. I don't know. Did anyone else catch that?
I didn't.
No? You didn't hear the line maximum
No.
pain? One of the students said he inflicts maximum pain. No. Anyways.
It may have been spelled Payne in the script, I bet.
I bet it was.
That'd be a good bit.
Well, this is our third movie in our Subversive Holiday Films month. And this isn't so much, I think, a subversive holiday film. But if you were expecting a different movie this week, that's because we decided to switch it out at the last minute. But I think this might have been for the better because I think this is a good one to switch over to. So, yes, this is a newest from Alexander Payne. This just hit the platforms for purchase or for rent. It's also in some theaters. So a lot of places you can still catch this right now. And so let's, I think we can get to this. I'm going to start with a brief plot synopsis, if I can find it here. Here we are. I already messed this up here because by the way, I take this right off the internet. I do not write these.
No, but you make them sound good.
Oh boy, I do not. A curmudgeonly instructor at a New England prep school remains on campus during Christmas break to babysit a handful of students with nowhere to go. He soon forms an unlikely bond with a brainy but damaged troublemaker with the school's head cook, a woman who just lost a son in the Vietnam War. All right. And I'm just going to play a quick little clip from the trailer.
You just earned yourself a detention, sir.
Being with you is already one big detention.
Son of a...
Sir, I don't understand.
That's glaringly apparent.
I can't fail this class.
Oh, don't sell yourself short, Mr. Coates. I truly believe that you can.
Every year at Barton Academy, students, faculty, and staff depart the campus for a 2-week winter break. But there are always an unfortunate few who have nowhere to go for the holidays. They're known as the Holdovers.
Mr. Hunnam.
Hello, Mary.
I had you guys stuck with babysitting duty this year. How'd you manage that?
You know, he used to be a student, right? Yeah, that's why he knows how to inflict maximum pain on us.
I thought all the Nazis were hiding in Argentina.
Stifle it, Tully.
You just earned yourself a detention, sir.
Being here with you is already one big detention.
Son of a bitch, that's another detention. Do you think I want to be babysitting you? No, I was praying your mother would pick up the phone or your father would arrive in a helicopter or a flying saucer.
My father's dead.
All right. So I love this trailer actually a lot. Let's get into our thoughts on this. Sam, we didn't talk about this off the air, but ahead of time. Did you have any movie facts you wanted to share in this or not?
Yes, I do. I do have a couple of facts. So this is actually this is a very new film. This came out this year, 2023, and interestingly enough, sometimes when you look for movie facts for older films, there's a lot more stories as the film has sort of been processed over time and it's been perceived by people for a while. But to get into some production info, this is directed by the very talented Alexander Payne, who also directed several other films, including Sideways, one of my favorites, The Descendants, a film I also like, and a movie he made a while ago called About Schmidt with Jack Nicholson. It stars Paul Giamatti, Da'Vine Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa. The cinematography of note is actually by Egil Brild, and this is a Danish cinematographer. He's actually famous for House of Cards 2013 and In Bruges 2008, one of my favorite movies ever. And on a humorous note, I just lost my pay. Here it is. Okay, sorry about that. So this film was actually shot. We're for the most part an East Coast based podcast. This film was actually shot all over schools in Massachusetts in the winter of 2022.
And you can tell.
And you can tell it's really, the whole point of this movie has a very authentic 70s vibe, and they really, you can tell that this is not, Oregon doubling for Massachusetts. So the filming was in Massachusetts, January, and to just name a couple of the places they shot in Groton and Northfield, Mount Herman, Deerfield Academy, St. Mark's School, and actually Fairhaven High School. I've actually been there before. One bit of information that I thought was interesting about the release was the special screening of the film was held for buyers on September 11th, 2022. The next day, it was reported that Focus Features had acquired distribution rights for $30 million, and the film was scheduled for a limited theatrical release on November 10th, 2023, but it actually got pushed up, came out earlier. And it will still be released in the United Kingdom on January 2024. So interesting to hear about the business side of it. And the Holdovers world premiere was actually held at the 50th Telluride Film Festival in August of 2023. So also screened at the Toronto International Film Festival. So, and in general, and we'll discuss our opinions of it, but it has been very positively received by critics in the 90% tile, I believe, on Rotten Tomatoes. So overall, doing pretty well, and made a decent profit. Low budget film, but just the production design details incredible.
I'm going to also interject that just today the Golden Globe nominations just got announced, and this got nominated for Best Picture for Comedy Musical, and Paul Giamatti for Best Actor for Comedy Musical, and I'm sorry, the Da'Vine Joy Randolph Best Supporting Actress as well for Comedy Musical.
Paul Giamatti was robbed for Big Fat Liar, so about time.
Absolutely.
Sam, was this Dominic Sessa's debut role? Did I read that?
Yes.
I forgot to include that, but that is very true. Yeah,
amazing.
He was. There's a very fascinating. I listened to interview with Alexander Payne, and he was the last piece of the casting that they put together for this, and they were, I think, 800 people were auditioned for that role, and he was auditioned 8 times before they finally selected him. But he had only performed in stage plays prior to this. First time ever in front of a camera.
Well, it's always the 801st place you look.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah. So thank you, Sam. Great points there. All right. So why don't we just very, very briefly just give our quick little review on this movie. By the way, we're going to be talking spoilers. I know this is a brand new movie, so if you have not seen this movie, highly encourage you to either go out and see it, rent this, purchase this, and then listen to our podcast. But we are going to get into spoilers very quickly on this. But first, spoiler-free thoughts. Give me 30 seconds, 60 seconds each on each one of you, your thoughts on this film. Let's start with B.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Go right in.
I really liked it. I'm a big Alexander Payne fan. I really liked it, but there was something that fell just a little shy of swooning over it for me. I thought it was really referential of some amazing movies, and I think I just love the movies that it's referencing a little more than this movie. I'm not sure that it lived up to the sum of its parts for me.
I think he's got a big thing for Hal Ashby is what it is.
Well, I think he's got, it actually kind of reminded me of Licorice Pizza. Like Paul Thomas Anderson does these like big swings and then has sort of come out with something a little more intimate and a little bit more, just personal drama. And I thought it's funny because in the theater I was like, I am gonna watch this every year as my Christmas movie. I do really like it, but I just don't think that when I think of this movie, I think about Cider House Rules, Riding in Car with Boys, Mr. Holland's Opus, Dead Poet Society, and I would almost watch those movies again before I watch this.
Okay. What would you give this for a star rating? 1 to 5?
3.5.
Okay. Sam, I'm going to turn to you.
I enjoyed this film a lot. I definitely hear your points, B. I would say for me in general, one of the reasons I'd give this film a high mark is because Alexander Payne at his best, his movies to me, they feel like a Saturday afternoon where you have no plans and no expectations, and all of a sudden you happen to have the best, most random day ever with lots of human encounters. And his movies, there's an unpredictable human element where characters do things, moments happen that you don't expect. And I feel like it really fulfilled that quotient well. I agree with you. It sort of reminded me of other films, but I still think my favorite of his is Sideways personally, but that's when I'd put that in my top 10 maybe, but I enjoyed it a lot. We'll talk about plot things later, but unexpected things happen in this movie that I found emotional and powerful, and it made me like it a lot. So I definitely enjoyed it. Love the setting, love the 70s vibe. For me, I would give it a solid 4 stars just because I went in with no expectations whatsoever. And it was completely different from what I thought it was going to be because I hadn't really watched any trailers, or if I had, I hadn't really put together or read anything about it. And so the unpredictable human moments and sort of arc of the story I just found myself really enjoying myself watching it. So that's my kind of overall take. Definitely, yeah, high marks from me for sure.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Ellie.
I liked it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I watched it. I wasn't sure I wanted to watch the film first, but then I watched it and I liked it a lot. A lot. I liked everything. I liked everything. I liked every actor. I liked the setting. I liked what it was said in the movie. It reminded me of so many things about my own life when I was a teacher, teaching students. And I actually went to do a internship at the Andover Academy. I thought that was the Andover Academy, but it wasn't. Phillips Epic. It's called the Phillips Academy. So I did an internship when I was student teaching. I was in a classroom with all boys. They're tough together, but easy to handle. Let me see. It even reminded me of me at one point where when I first came to this country and I almost gave up on going back to my country because I was frustrated with the language because I couldn't speak English and I didn't like the atmosphere of the high school. And I thought I come from going to private school wearing a uniform to come into a high school that doesn't wear any uniform and different language. And I had a teacher that cared enough to give me that push and say, I'm here for you. I'm going to get you through it. And she did for 3 years. Eventually, she became my son's godmother. That's how much I love this teacher. And I feel like there's always a teacher that does something for you. Maybe not everybody, but I know when I was a teacher, I have many students that became teachers because of me. I ran into them afterwards and says, Miss Aviles, Miss Azkaban, I'm a teacher because of you. But I love it. It was great. Yeah. I don't know much about the director because I don't think I've seen. I don't know. I don't think I've seen any of his films.
Oh, we're gonna do Alexander Payne month then.
No, I think I've seen Sideways. I've seen Sideways actually. I have seen, and I didn't care for Sideways. I didn't care for Sideways. Nope. Downsizing. I think I might have watched Downsizing too. Who's in that movie? I forget.
Well, Downsizing, I think, was his like swing and a miss before this. Right?
Wait, is that the one with Matt Damon where he becomes a little man?
Yeah,
I just
Downsizing is the
I
only one of his movies I have not seen.
I actually just watched that like a few weeks ago. It's on
Yeah,
Netflix, and I
yeah,
thought it was okay. It's weird. Um,
yeah.
yeah, but I think the Holdovers. It's probably one of the films that I've seen. I don't remember the Descendants at all.
I love The Descendants.
That's a
Yeah.
really good with George Clooney in Hawaii and their take
Yeah.
family land. And one quick comment just before I forget. B, I know what you mean about when you're talking about how the film was kind of referential towards.
Mhm.
I felt like the first 25 minutes, I felt like I was watching a movie that was good, but it was imitating better movies, and it
Mm.
took a moment for me for the movie to truly have a pulse.
See,
And
that's
then,
funny. That's funny,
yeah,
you guys, the way you watch the movie because that's so different from when I sat and watched the movie. I At first I didn't want to watch this movie. I don't think I'm gonna like it because I don't really know much about the director's kind of filmmaking. But then I said like we're gonna watch. So I from the beginning to the end. See, I didn't sit there to see where it went wrong. I sat to watch the movie to enjoy and see what it could do to me as a human. And
yeah,
in that
absolutely.
sense, it really hit well with me.
Absolutely. I mean, and
Yeah.
it really hit well with me too. And I wasn't like looking critically at it at the beginning. I thought the beginning was really good. For some reason, it connected with me. Like it kicked in. If the movie was a car, it like kicked into a higher, like in about 30 minutes in. Then I went, wow, okay, this is great. Didn't think it was bad at first. I just
Mm.
felt like, okay, this is pretty good. This is good. Paul Giamatti is excellent as always. But then in typical fashion of this director, it like went up. His best movies always do that, and I was waiting for that kind of like emotional spike, and that happened. So, but I agree. I watch it. I want to be entertained. Like I watch it to enjoy it. I don't want to sit there and be like,
Same.
"Oh, I wonder how much they spent in this shot." You
Well,
know, like
definitely
Yeah.
way better than downsizing. That's for sure.
For sure. No, I don't think I went into it with the intention of like, all right, let's see it like guilty until proven innocent. But I think I just, and I think I sound a little cooler on this movie than I was because I did enjoy myself, but you're right, Sam. It didn't kick in until later for me. And even then I was like, I don't know if there's not really a bigger point, and there doesn't have to be, but that also just I think took something a little away from it for me too. It was just a cozy sweater. That's fine. We have cozy sweater movies.
by the way, I love the title "Guilty Until Proven Innocent," and in my mind's eye, I saw the poster art for that of you, B, with a picture of you like, "Hey, guilty until proven it," like a comedy, yeah, that's a
I,
good
di-
movie. A
I,
good movie that never exists,
I,
but it's in
di-
my head. Yeah.
I didn't see anything wrong with the movie, you guys. So whatever you guys saw, I didn't see that. So,
We're gonna enjoy it.
well, what do I rate it? I'll
Oh
give it
yeah.
5 stars.
Oh,
Okay.
That's how much I liked it.
Yeah. B, you said something that just took the words out of my mouth. This movie I was describing as a warm blanket for me.
yeah.
I see this as a love story between three unlikely people,
Mm-hmm.
unconventional as it is. It's a love story, and I just saw this for a second time.
Good old
Maybe
movies
a
I
couple
love.
days
Sorry.
ago, and I loved it even more. I didn't think I could love this movie anymore after seeing it the first time, but I did. I think Paul Giamatti, I think, has trumped himself. I think this is a
Mm-hmm.
career-defining performance for me, and I thought Sideways was the best movie he's ever done. I loved him even more in this movie. Uh, I think he's done some amazing work in his life, but his work in this film is gobstopping to me. Like we said
Is it?
before,
It's really great in this film.
I think
It
so.
really is.
Da'Vine Joy Randolph, I think, is the glue to this film. If they failed to do her character justice, I think this film would have been knocked down a couple grades for me. But damn,
She's the
I
best
think
part.
she is so well written, and her story is heartbreaking for this. And she
Yeah.
is doing so much. She's holding so much back in her scenes, knowing
She's
what
such a
she is
control.
going through with the loss of her son. And there's only we'll get to the plot in a little bit, but I'm just blown away by her performance in
She's a
this.
champion. She's a
Yeah.
champion in this
That is
film.
the worst
Really.
Boston accent I've heard in a
Yeah.
while. I do think we need to say that.
And Dominic Sessa, the student in this, the first time first time I watched this film, I was a little mixed on his performance. I really couldn't really figure out what I'm watching him. I really couldn't figure out if I was enjoying it or if he was just. I didn't really know what to make of it. After watching it the second time, I what makes me optimistic is that I think he's got a really bright future. I think he can do. He's going to do even better things than this. I think he's raw. I think he's excellent in this, but I can't wait to see what he's going to do next. Actually, I get vibes of a young Jack Nicholson when I see him in this. I was seeing a lot of just the way
That's
he
interesting.
the looks that he gave. But I think he's going to has a really strong career ahead of him, considering what he did with being the first time in front of a camera. He really impressed me, but I think that he's going to be amazing down the road. So, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is a 5-star movie for me. This is maybe my favorite movie of the year, in the top 1, 2, maybe 3. I don't know. It's gonna be hard to see. There's some other things that are in contention for my favorite movie of the year, but this is, I love this movie. I want to see it again. I've seen this twice. I saw it like 3 days ago, and this
Need that blanket.
this is the most heartwarming movie, and it's not. I mean, it's about people that are sad and depressed and isolated, but I never felt so connected to what they're going through, because I'm going through things in my own life right now, and I felt like I'm just trying to I understand their need to find their people, and these are people just trying to find their people. So I loved the story.
Dude, there's nothing more like connecting to a movie when people are trying to find their people, because I've been there. So I think that's what did it for me, that it brought me there, and I think that was well done.
Yeah,
I loved it because I'm a Christmas Grinch. It's not my favorite holiday, and I think everyone should have a holiday that's your enemy. I just think that's healthy. For me, it's Christmas, no big deal. But I love that it was people just finding some joy and love in a hard time of year.
Yeah.
I just feel that Alexander Payne is so good at human, honest emotion. The people feel real in his movies, and I just love that they're all such 3-dimensional. No one felt like a kind of 1-dimensional character just reading their lines. I felt like I knew these people and could relate to their plight, and I would put it in my top 3 of the year as well. Easily.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the plot points of this movie here, because there's, I think, some important things to go over here. What should we jump to first on this list?
I thought it was really sad when Paul Giamatti died in a car explosion. I was just like, oh man,
wait, he died in a car explosion?
No, not at all.
No, I think the first thing that is an important part of this is, after the most of the kids go off on the ski trip, it's really left to the 3 main leads in this.
I would really love to, and sorry to jump in, I would love to comment on that. I loved that, because having only watched the trailers, I thought this was going to be a film where Paul Giamatti spends it with all the holdover students, and he becomes the teacher that they like, and they all bond. And I thought, I can feel the beats of this. As soon as New England's own Greg Chapurian, who played the rich father that took the kids, his son, away in the helicopter, and all the kids left except one, I was thrilled, because I didn't know that was going to happen in the film. And when that happened, I felt that unpredictable excitement of, this is going to be, it completely threw me for a loop in the best way. So I loved when that moment happened. I was already enjoying the movie, but all of a sudden I went, aha, this just got much more Alexander Payne-ier than it was a moment ago. Yeah.
Yes, we got to talk about how funny it is that a helicopter came and picked those kids up. That is hilarious. It just, I talk about this referencing all these big New Englandy feeling movies, which is true. And then it just immediately castigates the wealth in New England by just being oh yeah, at any point a helicopter in the 70s could drop in and swoop off with these kids.
Right.
That's really funny.
What was his job? What were they saying that student's job was? I forget what it was. They were. I can't remember now.
But it
The
sets
what
this
the
up as like New England's so stealth wealth, right? Like it's so cozy and like just old timey looking, and then boom, helicopter. Funny.
Yeah,
that was cool. I just love seeing Greg Chaporin, and he appears for a moment, but he's the father who
Did a great job.
picks up the kid, and he just in those few beats that moment played for me, it just felt like a New Englandy situation in a very amusing way, like you're saying. Stealth wealth, I like that.
So after that, we've got the three leads in this. We got Angus, we got Paul, we got Mary Lamb. What an interesting name for her character, actually. But it's the three of them, and they're left behind, and it's the trio of them, and this is where like they're driving each other kind of crazy for a while, and especially Angus, who now is. It's so weird for him. He's now being babysit by one faculty member. I mean, how would you feel during that? That would be the most awkward thing ever. Like the person you cannot stand is now like your dad almost. Like he's like the
He's
person
been
watching.
abandoned
Yeah.
by his parents.
I know.
You can't get in touch with them, and then stuck with this dude.
And I just love how he like rebels during this whole thing. He just starts acting up and running around the whole building and then he like, I love the line where he finally has had it and he's like being chased by Paul Giamatti, and he's like, do not go into the new gym that hasn't been finished yet. And Paul's like, this is your Rubicon. Do not, what was the line? This is your Rubicon. Do not cross the Rubicon. I mean, beautiful writing right there. And then he just like grins and he does like somersaults into the gym and he goes off the bar and dislocates his shoulder. And but then it leads to a pivotal moment in the movie where they have to go to the hospital. And I guess because he for insurance reasons, if he had to use insurance, I guess Paul would have gotten in trouble. That's what's kind of interesting because he was his responsibility.
Right. I think that's it. I think it's like if the parents had found out, they would have had to explain things to the other adults in the room versus when they can pay for it out of pocket. There's no other adults in the room. It's just the two of them sorting their shit out together.
Yeah. But it's a very important part that Paul, that Angus, I guess, lies for Paul. And then he like kind of lords over him and he gets him to take him to like dinner at some shack.
Yeah, he's still a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. And then where they meet one of the Miss Crane, who also is somebody who works at the school as well, which she's picking up some hours, which actually says, I think, a lot about the school, that even though she's working at this prestigious school, she has to pick up, hours during like school break,
Ellie, did you ever run into any of your students outside of work like that?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I always I went to eat at a restaurant once and in Newton, and one of the waiters was a boy that I used to teach, and he comes up to me and goes, "Jim is Escobar." I said, "Nope, it's not me. Not Miss Escobar." "Yes, you are. Come on, you're my Spanish teacher." And so I used to run a lot into my old students when they graduated, and I was still teaching. So, but yeah, and I think when you're a teacher, you are responsible for those students for so many hours. And if they're in your classroom, they are your responsibility and how they behave and what happens in that classroom.
Yeah.
So as a teacher, Paul is the name, right? His name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Paul, even though he looks like he's babysitting, it really is, it's a responsibility. You are like their parents away from their parents. It's just like
exactly
hard, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't teach you, they don't pay you enough to teach, whether it's private or public.
I was just gonna say, sort of to Ellie's point, like neither of them wanted to be there, right? And so I think he felt like it was this duty of care, but it wasn't really, out of any sort of passion for his work or anything. He sort of hates these kids. He just looks at them and he's like, oh, you guys are so lazy, this lethargic generation, you're a scourge on everything we've done for you. And now he's got this kid who's really giving him a run for his money, and he's hurt. And the kid
I mean,
surprises him.
he seems a little bitter at the beginning
He
to
seems
me.
really bitter.
Yeah.
And then
No,
this kid, Angus, like surprises him by showing this supremely emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And it's not this book smart, it's not this like philosophical academic knowledge that he is proselytizing the whole time, but it's this way of suddenly understanding what Paul needs. And
Because I tell you something, as teachers, and I can see Paul doing the same thing, many teachers tend to judge their students without even knowing them first, and they automatically start judging them and label them too.
And
I
Angus
work,
feels that.
yeah, and Angus feels that, and I think Paul, it's that type of teacher at the beginning where he labels in his own mind or his own way the students that he's teaching.
Well, I think related to this movie, I think he sees all of these spoiled students as representations, of the classmate that ruined his life.
Yeah.
Agree.
And
It's true.
it's
Great
also
read.
his hatred of himself and towards his old classmate, has all been redirected toward the students because of this. And he learns to see, himself in Angus, obviously. And that's what, obviously later on, when he sees that they're both on antidepressants, that's another thing that shows that they are the same, so, but I think that's supposed to be what is going on with this. That's at least how I interpreted it.
Absolutely, that's a great read. And I think this lie that Angus tells to protect Paul is the first of many lies we see throughout the film. And there's this theme that I want to sort of talk about as we move through it, where there's the lies that we tell ourselves, and then there's like never letting the truth get in the way of a good story, and how those sort of things can be foundational to our relationships. And so this is a really interesting point where the lie is the thing that tells the most truth about who they are as people.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Can we talk about the Christmas party? Because that's, something that comes shortly after this, which I think is one of the most important scenes of this movie. And maybe I think my scene of the year for me.
You find this to be the most important part of the story?
Yes.
The Christmas party?
I think, important, maybe, I think the best scene in the movie.
Oh, wow.
I think it's huge. Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I don't know. What can I say? Excuse me. I was like, I have to apologize to our audience. I had a little cough this week, and I am gnawing on a Ricola.
Sorry, when you say
nobody do this, nobody do the jingle. We don't have rights to it. I had to get rid of that. But I'll just start because this scene really blows me away, and I watched this again, and I am just blown. Like I said, I'm blown away by the scene. Each character within this scene is just dealing with these moments of isolationism, which is just a huge theme in this movie. Angus, he first gets to the party, and I remember he's distracted by a snow globe, which comes into play later. By the way, did he steal that snow globe? Is that the same snow globe that he gives his dad? He stole that snow globe.
Yeah.
That's right. I just made that realize that. Yeah. So, anyways, he goes right up to it, and he's mesmerized by it, and all the sound fades away except for the sound of the music from the snow globe. And I'm guessing it reminds him of his childhood or time with his father.
There was music in the snow globe.
Little jingle, snow globe music. At this, also having the same time, Mary is having a moment where she's in another room and begins to go to a dark place as the pain of her lost son is creeping in. And she's sitting on the couch. And again, all the party sounds fade away except for that Artie Shaw song. And happening at the same time is Paul in another room, and he's talking to Lydia. And when she stands up to greet her boyfriend, which is just wrecks him, it wrecks me too, because that girl was totally flirting with him, you know, and his heart gets ripped out of him, and there's that look on his face. But again, all the sound fades away, leaving Paul just all alone in his thoughts. And you got Andy Williams, ironically singing "Most Wonderful Time of the Year," but you just hear that music and all the party, all the sound of the people talking and laughing go away, and they're all just left with themselves in their own isolated thoughts. That's not a mistake, and I just love the editing and what they're doing with the storytelling here. Every character is dealing with these moments of isolationism and heartbreak, or remembering something. It's true. I think it's just an incredible sequence what's happening here in this party scene. The editing and storytelling, the performances all around, hearts getting ripped out, characters hitting rock bottom. I think it's incredible.
I love that the thing that gets them out of it is other people.
Yeah, they come together. They have to. They need each other. Yeah.
Sam, you're being so quiet.
No, I agree. I mean, they bond, and sometimes you think you can go through things alone, and you might be sort of kidding yourself because you need that connection with other people, even though they all sort of in minor ways irk each other to a little bit. They bypass that and establish a sort of deeper human need connection, which is essentially the human condition.
Yeah.
People need community and connection. I mean, you can achieve all the success in the world, but if you're on the top of a mountain in a mansion and there's no one there, what's the point?
Yeah.
That's Ian Lyons that she kisses, by the way. I'm pretty sure it was Ian Lyons.
Ian Lyons.
Yes. I know it's Ian Lyons. I swear to God, when I saw him, you briefly see him walking through that door and they kiss. And I even told Carlos, because Carlos was watching the movie with me, that's my friend actor Ian. I'm pretty sure that was him.
Not to be confused with Nate Lyons, home of warehouse pricing. Gotta get rid of that audio. We don't own that, but yeah.
I think is he in the movie? I haven't even checked.
I'm looking at the cast list right now.
Is he?
I don't know.
I swear I got it was Ian. Tall, thin.
There is a. I mean, are you talking about the boyfriend?
Yeah, the boyfriend.
There's a Ian Dylan Hunt. I don't know.
No.
Ian. Oh, Ian. Yeah, there is Ian Lyons. Yes, it's credited as the handsome man.
That's him. Because Ian is a handsome man. That's he. That's the boyfriend. I'm pretty sure that he's the boyfriend.
That's what I always get cast as.
I'm pretty sure that was Ian. Very briefly, but yeah,
well, he's in the movie. I don't know.
That was such a great scene.
Yeah.
I think another reason the Christmas party scene is just in general, like you guys are saying, is because everything comes to a head in that scene. Like the characters hit the wall with their problems and things, she gets way too drunk and emotional and they have to like take her out of there. And it's like they're coming up to a threshold where the isolation is all too consuming and it it boils over. Yeah. And there's generally in Alexander Payne moments, there's always boiling over scenes. And even though this is not my favorite film of his, and I haven't seen it in years, but the in the Jack Nicholson About Schmidt, his wife has died, and so he's just like, she was really, really organized, and so he's just following all the routines. And there's one scene where he just like instead of sitting down to like urinate, he just like leaves the toilet seat up and basically like pisses all over the bathroom on purpose because no one is there to stop. You know what I mean? So it's like they all have boiling over moments in all these movies, and Sideways, all over the place. Descendants. I mean, that's why it's always very human, because that happens in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think there's something really just sort of touching and almost kind of forgotten about the way these characters are able to accept each other as deeply flawed people and still love each other. I think a lot of times in modern conversations and when we talk about people, it can feel really like, oh, well, this person does this thing that I don't like, so I've reduced them to that. But here we see characters doing lots of things that we don't like, and we kind of fall in love with them anyway, and they fall in love with each other, and I think that's wonderful.
So after this, I remember Christmas, comes and goes, but Angus wants to go to Boston, and they decide that they can do this if they call it like a field trip. And I think there's some great
Another lie.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I know. Great bonding moments between Angus and Paul. They go to some very familiar places on this, which was really cool. But also during this, Mary goes home or visits her sister, and her story kind of comes full circle because she brings her son Curtis's things back as well. We see that the box she's been carrying around is full of Curtis's baby paraphernalia, clothes and socks and things like that. And I thought it was a very heartwarming moment where we see that reveal, and she reunites with her sister. But yeah, I don't know, any thoughts on her story coming full circle here, or the trip to Boston?
Yeah.
In general, the worst Boston accents I've ever heard, for one of the loveliest scenes I've ever heard. Da'Vine Joy Randolph is like, she better get nominated for everything and win everything. I think she's wonderful, but what was this accent? It was so hard. I read an article that she was doing like a very specific 1970s Boston accent. I don't know. I've known people who lived here in the 70s. They don't sound like that to me. Maybe we talk to different people.
I still think the worst Boston accent ever goes to the great Martin Sheen in The Departed when he's like, do you want to be a co-op or do you want to pretend to be a co-op? It's a simple question. You're like...
Also bad. The Foghorn Leghorn of Boston accents. Yeah, it wasn't great. But outside of that, I thought the time in Boston, specifically Mary visiting her family, I thought was really a great symbol of closure that Paul and Angus wanted, right? They were sort of looking for what Mary got. And that family and that connectedness and so Mary always had these people outside of them, and I think that's why she was able to be the glue for them. And I think when she sort of leaves the movie, her absence is really felt, and that was one of the hard things for me. But I thought her storyline was beautiful, and the way it comes back at the end I thought was great as well. And being in Boston was just really great fun. For me, the big being in Boston part was when they're in the liquor store. And
yes.
And Paul starts telling stories about how he really got where he is.
Yeah.
And sort of reveals a little bit more of his weakness, what he perceives as a weakness, to Angus, and lets him in a little bit. For me, that's where the movie officially like has some juice.
I agree.
That was strong.
And I think in connection to that, the scene where they're at the skating rink and we learn about where he meets his old classmate, where another big lie comes out. How does that go down? Anyone want to explain how? I don't remember how to articulate that, but it's really, really cool. He tells them that Paul's writing a book about, what was the book about? It was great.
That scene I really related to because, boy, and this may just be personal, but like growing up in New England and stuff like that, sometimes, not this is way, way too much a stereotype, and I hesitate to even say it as a soundbite, but there's like a competitive, I've been in that position where I'm not lying, but I'm exaggerating my accomplishments.
There's
because
a hustle culture here.
Oh, we all do.
I mean, I'll be sitting around the dinner table with, and like the people that went to Harvard, they'll be like, "What did you do today, Sam?" And I'll be like, "Well, I filmed a movie in the woods. We got some really good like coverage shots with my friends." They're like, "Oh, that's weird," and it's like,
I like that you've made Harvard people
bastards. Yeah, well, yeah, because they have to, in order to disassociate the English vibe. It's like, but
Villainy.
with smalt.
Right.
Also, with all the villains in Star Wars are British, so maybe that's one other thing connection there.
Yeah. Well, Angus tells this old classmate that Paul's writing a book. I remember that.
On
And
like watches or something, like, or
oh,
cameras. It was
cameras.
like ancient cameras.
Yes. But this ties into he specifically says he's writing a book because if you remember earlier in the movie, I love the scenes where Mary, Angus, and Paul are around watching TV, like the Newlywed Game and things like that. It's a great character moments in this whole thing. But if you remember, that there's a great scene where he's asking, what would you want to do? And Paul says, like, he might write a monograph or something like that, which is like a short essay. And Angus asks, why not write a book? And Paul says he's not sure if he has a whole book in him. And Mary says a great line, like, you can't even dream an entire dream, can you? Which I think speaks volumes about Paul at that time. So Angus takes the cue at that later on in the movie, he's writing a book.
Yeah, and it's really about Paul in that moment when he feels the need to lie because he's feeling that need to impress the other guy. The other guy is not mean; he's just more kind of indifferent, and he's like making chit chat. But Paul's the one taking it personally, kind of.
Yes.
And so I think that happens a lot when someone will talk about their accomplishments. They don't mean to sound condescending. It's just if you are feeling insecure within yourself, you feel the need to talk yourself up because of the way they're coming across to you. So it's about Paul in that moment. It really is about him.
And his explanation afterwards, where they're walking down the street afterwards, like he doesn't have the right to my story. He says something to that, which I love that explanation. It's not about him. It's just that my truth is my business or whatever, however he explained it, which was just a great, I just love that scene, the way he explains it. He doesn't have the right to it, to know this or something to that effect.
I have a friend who's a similar way, and he's a great line where he says that he is the captain of his own ship. And if he wants to like fly the Starship Enterprise into a wall, he has to have the right to be able to do that no matter what anyone says. So it's like, it's not necessarily a personal space issue, but it's about like, no, I need to own this. And so he feels sort of infringed upon in that moment in his mind.
Yeah.
There's a great undercurrent of like very specific New England pride running through this. Like this whole movie just captures that attitude really well.
Yes, it really does. Yeah.
So in a bit, I know they go to the Orpheum Theater, which I've been to like more times than I can count. And Angus sneaks out and he's going to go visit his father at a sanitarium. Is that the correct term for it, or an institution? Anyways, but Paul catches up to him and they decides to go together. What'd you guys think of this scene? Because this kind of hit home for me a little bit because, I don't think I've shared this on the podcast. I lost my mom almost 5 years ago. She was headed into this direction where she was having issues with dementia and things like that. She never got to this point, but this was difficult because I saw this world coming my way. And every time I see this depicted in a movie, it wrecks me when I see scenes like this.
It was emotionally powerful too, because you think his father is like sort of okay. And then once he starts to speak and you just, a line like that is coming where the father says something like, they're listening to me or they're going to, and I knew that was coming. I saw that beat coming, but it was handled with such emotional honesty that it was like painful, in a well acted way. Like,
And this was the moment, where we already saw like Mary and Paul had their hearts ripped out of them earlier in the movie. This was the time for Angus. So it's everybody had this moment in the movie. Yeah. So they go back and I love the confrontation with headmaster and Paul. They're back in the office and he's called in because I guess Angus, I didn't realize this until we just talked about before. He left that snow globe from the Christmas party with his dad, which I just made that connection now. But Angus's mom and her stepfather, I guess, are really upset about this. and want to take him, send him to I guess military school, and take him out of the school and do this. So uh, Paul, he decides to take responsibility for the trip, taking him to see his father. So he puts his neck out on the line for this, and loses his job over this.
And I was really impressed that he did that, because to me it shows growth in his character, because he was so hurt and obsessed with his own world and painful emotions that he sees how fragile this kid's future is. And he says, no, if they have their way, he's going to go off to this military school. So he literally, in sacrificing himself, he changes the course of the kid's trajectory for the better. And like, that's his legacy as he loses his job and leaves the school. So this whole time he feels he hasn't made a difference, but he did the best thing a teacher can possibly do, is make a difference in a student's life, literally in this sense, because he changed the trajectory of his future for the better. And so that to me was like a character defining moment that made the movie kind of epic to me, actually, because it's, I mean, it's like, you're talking about future and time and the course that we're set on, and he like literally changed the kid's life.
Absolutely, yeah. And then of course he comes out and he goes like, it's this one, where he finally like reveals which is the eye you need to look at. Which,
yeah.
Do you here's a little take here. Is that where the movie should have ended?
I actually personally liked where it ended, because I liked seeing Paul Giamatti go on his way. And I liked him. I think he takes a swig of something and takes one last look and sort of has an FU moment to the school before driving on. I liked seeing him leave, because he has an uncertain road ahead, but it's a hopeful road. And so I liked that we had that shot of him driving on. So I personally liked where it ended, just because it just gave me that visual. I was enjoying the movie so much. I enjoyed that little epitaph there.
Yeah. I kind of wondered if that was the emotional crescendo at that moment right there, because I actually kind of welled up a little bit when he says it's this one right here. That right there was the emotional end of the film for me. Right there. I don't know if I needed anything after that. But I didn't mind. Really didn't hurt the movie for me, but I felt there was a lot of like extraneous, like a few other extraneous moments that didn't really add anything. I think we could have filled in all the other gaps of the movie after that.
I think their goodbye was more powerful for me than him telling him about his eye, which was a funny movie trick because it kept switching throughout the film.
Yes,
which it was.
Yes,
but
By the way, the whole eye thing, apparently it's a secret how they did this.
Yes.
I don't know if Paul Giamatti just has the power to go wall-eyed whenever he wants to, or if this was a digital effect, or it was a contact lens they put in. They have not revealed how they got that effect. Yes.
However it happened, it was good. But
I haven't seen a Paul Giamatti movie in a while. And the first time watching this movie, like, is he really just gone wall-eyed in the last like 3-4 years? Is he okay? Exactly. I bet a lot of people were wondering that.
I thought that it was great that we have this moment of growth, like you were talking about, Sam, because it's also the moment where he leaves this safety net. Like, we learn when they're in Boston that this school that he went to just becomes like, hey man, I couldn't hack it. I didn't do what I thought I was going to do. I got kicked out, but I came back home. And then he sort of leaves the safety net, and he's like, I don't really need this anymore. And he's able to leave. But for me, him and Angus saying goodbye to each other, I thought that was so real, that it wasn't this like, we'll always be in each other's lives or we'll see each other again. Like, you're not left with the assumption that there's some like everlasting relationship.
No, they might never see each other again.
Yeah, they're both just like, okay, that was a thing. Yeah. Bye. And I think we put a lot of emphasis on like permanent relationships, and it was just, I like that they acknowledged that was a temporary but wonderful thing.
I wish that Angus, and this is just like the scene was great. I wish Angus had said something of more gratitude, like "Thank you so much for what you did," but that would be sort of out of character.
Yes.
So it was good. He's a kid, but I also really liked and needed that scene too because I liked visually seeing Paul Giamatti leave the space of the school and like drive off because he's like, it's like you are now. This is the next chapter of your life.
Not just
and I like
leaving,
seeing
but leaving by himself. Also, because he's never been on his own outside of that school. We've never seen him, at least.
And he's totally going to go to Rome or like get, scrounge up some capital and travel. Like I felt optimistic, even though it was heavy. I was like, hit the road, man. It's going to be all right. Like,
it was on his terms. It was his story.
Exactly.
Ellie, where do you think it should have ended?
No, I like the ending. I liked everything about the movie, so I don't think it should end it here or there. It's just to me, it didn't lack anything. It didn't overdo it. It didn't, it's just it's a good feel movie.
Yeah.
So
it is a good feel movie.
It would have ruined the movie if there was like if he had a musical number on the road where he's like, and I'm feeling lots of pain, but there's nothing more to gain because I'm free, and it just like drives down that would not be good.
Good job for not including that, Alexander Payne.
Yeah. I told him too, and he was like, Sam, that's stupid.
Yeah, there's a really good editor on site.
I thought the movie was a little bit of Dead Boys Society and Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, Good Will Hunting.
All right. All right. Well, I think we have examined this movie about as much as we can. This has been a wonderful conversation. So let's close the book on the Holdovers. And I think it's time for us to get to our recommendation shelf this week.
Excuse me, can you help me? I'm in an absolute loss. I've been looking for over an hour and I'm losing my mind. What I'm in the mood for is sort of a Katharine Hepburn-y, Cary Grant-y kind of thing. Nothing heavy. I couldn't take heavy. No, something zany. I'm looking for something zany. Or something modern would be fine too, like a Goldie Hawn, Chevy Chasey kind of thing. You know, funny. I want to laugh. I have to laugh tonight, really. Oh, do you have anything with that comedian? He's on that show. It's on the radio. You know the guy, he says, hey, forgive me. I get such a kick out of the way he says that. He's so goddamn adorable. That would be perfect. Didn't he make a movie? Ordinary Peepholes.
All right, that's our bumper for our recommendation shelf. Before we get to that, though, I always forget to do this. I just want to do a quick bit of housekeeping. Because, well-oiled machine here. Just want to say, thank you for listening to our review on the Holdovers. It means a lot to us. If you agree or disagree of our opinions, please, we love to hear from you. Our email is backtotheframerate@gmail.com, or connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or TikTok. Our handle is Back to the Frame Rate. Your support is greatly appreciated, so please take a moment and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your preferred podcast app. We highly recommend that you subscribe to our newsletter, Frame Rate Monthly. This newsletter is packed with details about our podcast, including what we're currently watching, upcoming discussion topics, and other engaging content. To subscribe, simply send an email to us at backtotheframerate@gmail.com. And put in the newsletter in the subject line. So sorry about that, but we're going to get to our recommendation shelf right now. And the theme this week, of course, as a tie-in to the Holdovers, is boarding school films. Yes. How original, huh? So,
sorry.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so many and they're not all good,
what's funny? There are a lot. And when I was doing research on this, I realized that there aren't tons that I love.
Exactly.
But there are a lot.
Yeah. It's a prolific genre.
Yes. So let's get to it. B, I'm going to throw you in.
Rock and roll.
Because I'm just nominating you to go first all night.
B! Sorry.
I needed that. Thank you. I went for sort of an oddball pick for this because I wanted to kind of turn it on its head a little bit. I went for The Blackcoat's Daughter which came out in 2015. It is a horror thriller movie. It's A24. It's pretty divisive, like most movies distributed by them are. It's definitely a slow burn. But where I think this sort of subverts the genre a little bit, in addition to it being a female boarding school, which is fun, it also sort of takes the things that would be maybe taboo in those more standard films like Dead Poets Society and turns them into something scary and something that we should be suspenseful about. The film follows two women, so it has these parallel storylines that we don't see converge until the end, and it's really slow paced. It's kind of like The Witch. I think it would be a good double feature with The Witch. So if you like that movie, I would check this one out too.
I know nothing about this.
It's
Okay.
good.
All right. Where is this? Where can people see this?
That's a good question. People can see it on Max, which I hate that it's not HBO anymore. It's hard for me. And video on demand.
Okay. All right. Sam.
So I'm totally cheating a little bit here. It follows the boarding school parameters, but it's not really a boarding school movie, but it happens to take place at a boarding school that just happens to be very magical. I'm referring to the Harry Potter films because it technically falls under boarding school category because he has to stay there. I am going to go with, first off, and it's kind of a non sequitur. I love the Harry Potter films because I like coming of age stories, and a coming of age story with an epic setting where you're the chosen one that has to fight the Dark Lord. It does not get grander than that. Though I am highly entertained, it depends on the mood I'm in. In some ways, I'm more entertained by Goblet of Fire, but in terms of the best film, I'm gonna have to go with Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, 2004 film.
That's the right choice.
Yeah, I think it's a great film, masterfully directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who has made incredible film. Cuarón. I'm so sorry. I missed Cuarón. He just Children of Men is another incredible film he's done. He's done Gravity, many films. I will say in a nutshell, what I like so much about his Harry Potter film, it's actually the one movie that Voldemort does not show up in. It's a very character focused coming of age tale, and it's a great story. There's a lot of suspense, there's a lot of atmosphere, but there's this almost calm before the storm, this exploratory calm before the storm, before these massive events in the later chapters just start ripping the world apart. And it's very character focused, and there's an amazing scene where Harry Potter, played by Daniel Radcliffe, rides the Griffin Buckbeak over the lake, and he's just flying around. And I have incredible memories of seeing that in the theater, and I will also very fondly remember I was living and working in the United Kingdom in 2005, and I was traveling. I was visiting this hotel in Scotland, and I was with the staff in between their like restaurant work, and they were all like huddled around in this room, hanging out, watching The Prisoner of Azkaban. And there's a transporting feel to that movie. So I could go on and on. I'll stop talking, but love that movie, coming of age character film. Go back and check it out. It's a masterpiece.
I'd argue it's very boarding school. Like, you're super in the characters in that school. That's when when the Weasley twins give their secret map of the grounds.
Oh, the Marauders map. Yes.
Yeah.
Great pick.
And John Williams' score is very different in that. I think it's probably his best of he did the first and the third, and he sort of did the second, but it was like orchestrated by someone else. But his score in 3, it's so character focused. It's an amazing film. Yeah.
All right. Ellie, what do you got?
I picked Dead Poets Societies.
Yeah.
And Dead Poets Societies is one of those films that I really loved and kind of inspired me to become a teacher myself. Having come from private school myself, and it's all girls private school, I totally relate to this movie. And coming from private school, it's just the education is so much different for us as opposed to public school. Um, I didn't feel challenged when I went to public school here in the United States, as opposed to I came to the United States and I already had I was already in calculus in seventh grade, in my country, and I came to the United States and they put me in basic math. So yeah, uh, but Dead Poet Society, it's about the poetry. It's about the teacher Robin Williams. It's got many actors in there that are now I grew up with actually those actors, and went on to do great things. You see, it's just about that I especially love the fact that this movie represents exactly who I am, which is I don't I don't like to conform to any rules the society gives me. And I feel that Robin Williams as a teacher in this film is kind of teaching that to the kids, like you don't have to conform to the rules. You can be different, think differently, and not adhere to the the rules of society. And when I became a teacher, it's how I taught my classes. And in fact, I had a student that said to me when I was teaching, Miss Escobar, you're going to leave this high school after 5 years. And I said, what makes you think that? And he read me so well. And he says, oh, well, because you're a nonconformist. And I can tell. I taught honor students classes. So these honor students were really smart. And so it's like, you can see, he goes, yeah, you're not going to stay here. And exactly, I only taught for 5 years and I left because I couldn't take the administration of the high school. I couldn't take, I'm not going to mention where I taught, out of respect for the town, but I, I, it becomes sort of a battle because you want to teach your classes in a certain way and you're not allowed to because you have to follow all these rules and regulations the administration gives you. And so when I watch when I saw Dead Poet Society, my whole thing was I one day want to be a teacher and I want to teach kids to be this amazing, this extraordinary, and to seize the moments. And I always told my students that one line in the movie, carpe diem, seize the moment and be extraordinary. And I saw kids graduate and come back to me and say, you know, you're the one teacher that taught us so much more than just Spanish. You taught us about life. And that was important to me. And that's why I loved it. I think Dead Poet Society is one of my very top 25 movies in my
movie.
life.
Mm.
Yeah.
Great pick, Ellie.
Yeah.
All right. And I think it's available on VOD right now. And to back up, all the Harry Potter films are streaming on Max. I was checking. So, yeah. All right. My pick.
Is it still called Max?
It's, yeah.
I thought it was called
Max.
Help Something. No?
Help something? I don't know about that.
Help Max. Okay.
Help Max
Help
succeed.
Isn't it?
No.
Am I like
No.
dreaming? Okay, I thought it was.
My recommendation shelf pick for boarding school films this week is a film that I have very strong and personal connection to for a couple reasons. For one, a bunch of this film was filmed. In Providence, Rhode Island, a city that's a stone's throw from where I live. And it's from a couple of native Rhode Islanders. It's directed by Michael Corrente, a man who I've had the pleasure of meeting several times. He's a very charming man in person. It's also written by the Farrelly brothers, and it's called Outside Providence. It came out in 1999. Also, there is some cast that's in this film, mostly in small roles in this movie that also were in a movie that I worked on at the same time. We were trading some of our extras and cast back and forth in one of the first movies I ever worked on. So it's kind of cool as they were working on the film that I was on, which was called The Gypsy Years. They would also be working on I think, their film Outside Providence.
I
Down that guy.
myself was in Outside Providence as well. You know the scene where the kids throw the kid into the lake.
Yes.
I'm one of the kids throwing them into the lake. I'm
Nice.
also one of the prefects at the school. You can see me with a big, long, like 70s haircut.
Oh, I gotta look for that.
16-year-old Sam Cole, very visible in that film.
Excellent.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
So it's a coming of age story in which we follow Tim Dunphy, who is played by Sean, I guess it's Sean Hatose. He's cruising through life in this directionless haze, spending his days. He's like toking up and chilling with friends. But Tim's carefree routine takes an unexpected turn with a run-in with the law, and he convinces his dad, who's I think wonderfully played by Alec Baldwin, he's like this hardworking blue collar type. But Baldwin ships him off to this Connecticut prep school. Of course, this is a very strict reform school, and he clashes with the faculty, and it's a power struggle of him versus them. I remember, the faculty members. One of the faculty members was named Mr. Funderburk, which is just a great name for a professor there. So that should just tell you about how much up their own ass this establishment is. Like I said, I haven't seen this movie in ages. It's probably been 23 years since I've seen this, and I remember this being a good movie, with a good heart at its core, especially the relationship arc between father and son. And, also this takes place in the mid 70s. So like the Holdovers 1970s vibe, if you liked the Holdovers, this might be something worth checking out. This is not an amazing film, but it is an enjoyable kind of fun, trip down memory lane. If you remember that era and you want like a lighthearted comedy dramedy type thing, you could do far worse. That's, like I said, there are a lot of prep school movies, and I think Dead Poet Society is probably,
top tier.
Is up top tier. And there's not a lot, that is like great after that. So it was not the easiest thing to do. So
I think Tim Crow plays Mr. Funderburg. He's a Trinity repertory actor. He's a really good actor. Yeah.
Oh, awesome!
I think it was him. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but he was there.
Yeah.
It's funny. Really quick. I'll be fast, but that was shooting in November of 1997, and I was on set, and I had tickets to see Starship Troopers that night. And the shooting went over, and I was pissed because I really wanted to see Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers. So I went and saw it the next day. That was my story. Yay.
Nice. I know it's on VOD right now too. So yeah. All right. So those are our recommendation shelf picks for boarding school films. So that was cool. All right. And that's our show for today. So yeah. So all right. That was fun.
Wait, I want to do a shout out to
yes.
To oh my god, Pamela Morgan in this Holdovers film as the waitress. I believe she was she would I don't know what restaurant they were, but in the film it says the Chateau.
I don't know.
Do you remember when they're coming out of the restaurant? It's called the Chateau.
I don't remember the name. I feel like they probably changed the name of the restaurant for the movie.
No, it was in the film. It says the Chateau. And Carlos and I were like, that's the Chateau in my hometown. I won't say my hometown because I don't want anybody to know where I live. But in my hometown, that's the Chateau. And but the chateaus all over the place.
Yeah.
But that particular one, I thought, oh my God, that's our restaurant, one of my favorite restaurants. But Pamela Morgan was the waitress in the Holdovers, and she did such a great job in the film. And she was funny and on point. And congratulations, Pamela. Yep.
Yes. Pamela.
Yay! Pamela! Great job.
I would also like to give a shout out to Top Dog Liquors making Thursday tolerable. Ayo! Just kidding. That place doesn't exist. Yeah.
Oh, Wakefield Bowling.
Wakefield Bowling.
I filmed one of my short films there.
Oh, nice.
as well.
We feel
So, yeah.
bowling. I haven't been bowling in a long time.
Yeah.
I love bowling.
Yeah.
Awesome locations. All right. I think we're going to conclude everything up here. So we appreciate everyone checking out our podcast this week. As a final reminder, if you are enjoying what you hear, please consider leaving a rating or review. Your support truly brightens our day. The ideal platforms for this are Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or whichever platform you access our content. To stay updated, please don't forget to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, Frame Rate Monthly. Also, you can stay connected to us on Facebook and Instagram. Our handle is Back to the Frame Rate. And of course, the most effective way to support us is by sharing our episodes on your social media platforms. Your support means the world to us. All right, that is it. The show is over. Goodbye.
I want you to know it's over.